me now to Accompong, the sovereign state of Accompong. You're vying for the colonel of the sovereign state of Accompong.
Yes.
How did we get to this sovereign state?
All right. So within the sovereign state is embedded the 1738 treaty, which the territories designated as Cockpit Country. Cockpit Country was given to the Maroons. So in defining that border, there was to be no interference, and vice versa. What has happened since Jamaica has got their independence, or so-called independence, 1962?
Before you say since, let's talk about the fact that there is an independent state. So Accompong, the Maroon villages are a sovereign state within Jamaica, for those of you that don't know. So you're governed by your own laws. Are there laws?
Correct.
Like laws?
So yes and no. Yes, we're governed by our own laws. So as per the treaty, you will see our entitlements in that what we as Maroons cherish, having won the war and signed.
So from the rest of Jamaica?
So essentially, we have our own government. The colonel is the head of that government. The colonel selects his council, which is like his body, his cabinet,
Gotcha.
with the responsibility for different areas of development. So just like you'd have a minister of culture, you have a minister of finance. These are all afforded to us.
So you have a minister of housing, minister of...
The current structure does not have a minister of housing.
What about minister of education?
Yes, yes, we do.
That's so cool.
We do. So, and that is recognized, right? As far as government and parliament is concerned, the Maroon have their space of representation in parliament. We just haven't had a leader to assert that position. Because in truth, how the framework and structure of Jamaican politics now is, it has failed to recognize the Maroons' status. And for me, as a leader, stepping forward is trying to bring forth 1738 into current day legislation.
And this is a treaty.
And this is a treaty. So if you look at Suriname and what's happening in Suriname, Suriname has a large contingent of the Maroon people. The deputy prime minister of Suriname now is the leader for the Maroons in Suriname.
Yeah?
Yes. So if you look, for example, at the structure of government in Suriname, the Maroon people, they don't vote for this party or that party. They vote for their leader.
So you have essentially two different elections, like what's happening now.
And that leader provides representation
of that
on the larger state.
Got you. So
how it is now is quite different.
It's different.
Our leader now has subordinated the role of colonel. And what I mean by that, meaning he has chosen a party over asserting the position of Maroon.
So you're supposed to be like in the middle, shouldn't be on any side.
It's supposed to be a collaborative approach, not merging. Our agenda has been missing. That's what I mean when I say the Maroon agenda has been missing or has been secondary.
Gotcha.
So as a leader, as a Maroon leader, a sovereign state, you stand up for your people, you stand up for your territory, you stand up for your rights. But you're also working alongside the state of Jamaica, right? So that's where we've gone off path. And I think that's where we need to now bring back our people to understanding the power we have and the right to determine our own future has gone missing in another agenda. You understand?
I understand.
So for me as a new age leader is how do I preserve my culture? How do I keep what we fought for, what our ancestors died for, without losing that, how do I then bring forth the agenda that moves us into the new age for development? We have no roads, we have no running water.
Oh no.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
You know, and for what we stand for as leaders of liberation, as I put it, you know, we're the catalyst towards the movement of emancipation. Dottie Bookman, a Maroon, left here, went to Haiti, right, and helped start the Haitian evolution. They said the Haitians were the first free. No, we helped them to get to that point.
Okay.
You know, so for me, to be sitting back secondary now is a non-negotiable.
Got
right?
you. Especially when it's in the treaty that you're supposed to be sovereign, you're supposed to be treated this particular way, you're supposed to have these rights, and you feel like it's not being acknowledged.
So here the funny thing, because year upon year we have the government and, you know, the Minister of Tourism and all, they come to Accompong, they join us in celebrating. They also help to fund our celebrations, you know. Thank you, you know, we appreciate it. But even the rhetoric, you know, that is carried across, you would almost feel like, okay, you know, the government is willing to work alongside the Maroons to build. You know, we've had promises upon promises upon promises, roads, water, all these things. And still to this day, you know, to me, I just laugh, because I'm saying, guys, we have to do it. It's not their responsibility.
They mean in the state.
The state. It's our responsibility.
That's what I was thinking. If you are a sovereign state, then there are certain things you shouldn't depend on the rest of the state.
Correct.
For.
But what? Our leaders have lacked vision. They've lacked purpose. They've lacked integrity. They've lacked a lot of things.
And this is what you're bringing to the table.
And that's what I'm bringing to the table, right? Because to me, all Maroon territories are special economic zones. You hear the term special economic zone.
That I know
the government,
a lot about.
The government drives these special economic zones to invite investments, right? Giving special tax concessions, etc., etc. Maroons, we don't pay tax. We don't pay tax to the crown. Of course, you can't avoid general consumption tax, but we don't pay tax on our lands. We don't pay tax to access our ports.
You
but
don't,
these,
or you shouldn't?
We don't. We don't.
Okay.
What needs to happen is bringing 1738 into current day legislation.
So you're saying currently you don't pay tax at the port?
And we don't pay tax on our lands.
And you don't pay tax on your lands?
Correct. We don't pay tax to the crown. So if we're bringing in a piece of equipment on the port, as Maroons, we don't pay that duty to the crown.
But you are indeed a special economic zone with incentives then.
But we aren't recognized. It's not on the books.
It's not.
So what you find is the bureaucracy, the challenges that it takes. Remember now, you know, we don't have an ID card to say Maroon. You know, there's no entitlement given to Maroon, right? But yet it's there in the treaty. It's recognized even in the Constitution of Jamaica, Article 4.
So the treaty is recognized because it's in the Constitution, but it's not...
It's acknowledged.
Acknowledged by the state.
It's not... The terms of the treaty aren't... They aren't brought... They haven't been carried forward, right, onto the books, right? Meaning there's a reference to that which existed before 1962, but there's no further reference of bringing what existed before 1962 into current day legislation. So as a Maroon leader, you would expect they step forward to make that representation, as I have done on several occasions, for Maroon rights, for Maroon legitimacy, for Maroon entitlement, and for Maroon to be a player. What has happened to us over the years, we have played second string, right? We've played subordinates, right? We've played conformists. We were never that. We were never that. We were freedom fighters. We were forerunners. My intention is to economically empower the Maroon community by bringing forth 1738, the current day legislation, because that alone in itself will yield that economic empowerment that we as a sovereign state desire. Jamaica is a signatory to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. The Maroons are recognized as the indigenous people of Jamaica. So are the Rastafarians. Now, what does it mean to be a signatory? It means Jamaica, the government, the state, should be in a collaborative conversation with the sovereign state of Accompong to move these things which we speak of forward. So accessibility, right? Bilateral understandings as far as diplomacy is concerned, trade, investments, all these things are needed to be tackled at a high level to open the doors for us to invite our own investments.
So there's definitely a need for leadership.
There's definitely a need for strong leadership.
For strong leadership to bring the needs and the voices of the Maroons to the forefront. That's what's lacking.
Correct.
To be honest, I don't know a lot about Maroons. We don't hear a lot about Maroons. We know that Maroons exist on a day-to-day in Jamaica, but you don't hear anybody say, just, I'm from the Maroon tribe, to make jokes, but enough is not. I think enough is not said, enough is not taught, enough is not reinforced. We still, when I tell people I'm going to Accompong, people are like, what is Accompong? Not knowing that it's an actual place, it's an actual state, it's an actual, you know?
And if you check in history, if you check back through the times of history, for each time a set of people have been enslaved, captured, disenfranchised, the mechanism to strip them of their culture, strip them of their background, their elders, the information that's, that wealth of information, there's no means to preserve it, stripping them of their faith, their spirituality, dividing them, spreading them, right? All these are tactics that have been used in the past, are still being used today. So you not hearing about Maroon is not a chance.
You're saying it's a deliberate action.
I'll leave it at that. The last 3 years in a row, the Maroon youth group, the drummers, have won the All-Island JCDC competition. Have you heard of them? Have you seen anything mentioning such? We had Carifesta in Trinidad last year, and Carifesta is this big celebration of the Caribbean culture, and all islands participating. Jamaican contingent was there. Where were the Maroons? So I'm just saying, I'm just pointing to you little things to take note of, right? Because at the end of the day, we know who we are, but there's a system that's designed and that is at play that hasn't been facilitative to a document to which they have signed off to. And at the same time, we haven't had a leader to step in and assert that position and force the hand to get that collaborative approach. That's my hope as leader of Maroon.
Sounds good. About a week ago, I had the opportunity to go to Accompong to see what it's all about, to really experience the lifestyle and the culture. And I took a little bit of video that you guys may see throughout this video. And I remember going to a section or a part that has this big tree labeled the Kinder tree. And this is where they had some celebrations going on there, and the lady spoke so much about that tree. It's a sacred spot. Talk to me about that tree and that spot and the significance that it has in the Maroon culture.
So Kinder is a shanty for one family, right? And the Maroons, they lived a family-oriented lifestyle, right? So each one helped one. Kinder is one of those sacred grounds. It was a gathering spot for in times of war as well as times of celebration. It's located on one of 66 seal grounds throughout the cockpit.
Grounds meaning what?
Sacred grounds. They're sacred grounds, and each were a lookout point, right? So in that time, before a war, Kojo and the warriors would gather at Kinda. There, the tactics were laid out, right? In celebration, that's where they would gather as well. And each warrior and chief would sound the abeng from one of these seal grounds. So what you experienced is what you experienced last week was a snippet of what takes place at our 6th of January celebration. Now, the 6th of January is an important date in the Maroon calendar in that it represents one Kojo's birthday. It is also in recognition of the signing of the treaty with the British. So every January 6th, they call it the Maroon celebrations. It's almost like Maroon Christmas, you know?
Oh.
So on that day, you get a rich...
Speaking of Christmas, do you celebrate Christmas? Maroon celebrate Christmas?
They do. Maroon has a strong Christian base, right? So I would say, yeah, the traditional holidays are celebrated.
Okay. But continue.
Yeah, so 6th of January is our biggest calendar event for the year, and what we try to do on 6th of January is to relive that moment, right? To give you a taste and a piece of what our culture embodies, and with the signing of that treaty. It should be a very symbolic day where the activities that are done, you know, replicate what we would have done back in those days.
There's a lot of preaching and chanting.
There's a lot of drumming, dancing, chanting, and food, everything, you know.
Speaking of food, when I went to Moortown, I was given food, right? And for the first time, I tasted the cocoon. I see you're wearing it on your necklace, but it was surprisingly good. The way it was prepared, it was so tasty. I didn't expect that.
So the Maroons had to figure out how to live, right? After running away and being in the bushes, you know, they fed off the land. So the cocoon, it grows on a vine, right? It has a heart shape, right? And it grows on a vine. What we do is we pick it and we soak it in water for 9 days. And each day you have to change the water. So what the water does is pulls out the toxins because it's a toxic
So who
plant.
teach them that that's how it's supposed to be?
Well, there may have been 8 souls who gave their lives to tell us you need to soak it for 9. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh, we always know these things.
Let me tell you, when you're in tune spiritually, you know.
You know.
The bushman know the medicine.
Right?
It's almost like the medicine is talking. The bush is talking to him.
Trust me, because when you're sick, old people say, yeah man, drink that dog blood, drink that fever grass. You ain't be like...
And that's again, it comes again to spirituality, because we're born in oneness with nature. So we are of nature. Nature is us. So there are ways of communicating. These plants are here for us. They're here to heal us. They're here to feed us, right? Not everything, of course, is edible, right? But I've often asked that question too, before attaining higher levels of understanding and appreciation for what we do not know, that messages come to you. Yes? So with the cocoon, I can only imagine trial and failure, you know, finding a way to make this fruit edible. And what it is, it's really good. It's almost like a tofu. It's almost like tofu.
I don't even know what it's like, but it just
or coconut,
nice.
dry coconut.
Yeah, because it was prepared in coconut sauce, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's so good. So what are some other traditional Maroon foods? I know Maroons are meat eaters.
Right, so you know the traditional, what we call pepper pot, or what we would know as pepper pot.
You know, soup?
Yeah, I mean, it originated there. You know, it's like, you know, reaping from the earth, bringing in and making one big pot of soup or whatever, you know. Pork, you know, the pig, you know, the wild pig. We used to hunt the wild pig, the boar. We cook and eat without salt. You know, that is still practiced today as a part of our culture, where 6th of January, a black boar, right, would have been castrated, right, over a year, is prepared and shared amongst
the people.
Maroons and visitors, and of course our ancestors.
For that 6th of January celebration, are outsiders allowed to join?
Outsiders are free to come along and celebrate with us. We start at the kinder tree, the drumming, the dancing, the music, and after that we march to what we call Old Town. Now Old Town was where the whole town was, the original settlement, and it's about a half a mile from Kinder Tree down in the cockpit. Not everyone is allowed on that trek, so we leave Kinder, head to Old Town, which Maroons only participate in that part of the ceremony. We return, we join with the crew, and then we walk down to the town. We walk around and come back up to the monument, come back up to the school, where we have formal setting for if we have a guest speaker, or if there's some calendar of activities. It normally takes place post the Kinder and Old Town celebrations.
Okay, tell me something. How is death treated in the Maroon community? It's like that's where 9 nights and stuff.
Correct. So we have a 9 nights. Yes. So you have grave digging, you have 9 nights, which are embodying and celebrating the dead. We're very traditional in how we go about celebrating the lives of our loved ones. Drumming, dancing. It's a part of us. There's nothing extra to be added. Okay,
so tell me now, did you grow up in Accompong Town?
Yes, so my mom and dad are Maroons. My mother is from Salem, which is about a mile out from Accompong, and my dad is from Accompong, the Corey family, who has a rich history in Maroon.
Yeah, your grandfather was the past colonel.
My uncle is now the deputy colonel.
Oh, okay.
Right, but for years and years, my family has been very integral in the community. Helping out those who are less fortunate, and doing as best as we can to help our brothers and our sisters. So I left Accompong when I was 8. And that was when our father, my sisters and I at the time, he wanted better for us. And again, it's the same story then as it is now. Parents want better for their kids because there's no opportunity, there's no development, so they send them out. We moved out, we started, I went to prep school. I was lucky to graduate and went to Monroe College, where
Monroe old boy?
Yeah, Bobo skiwa ntana ala skiwa.
I don't know what that means.
Hitting bitten what ntana hitting bitten, Bobo skiwa ntala ala skiwa.
Bobo skiwa.
Monroe.
Big up on yourself.
Yes, cultured. So I studied accounts, and at the time thought I wanted to be an accountant. Went to University of Technology, where I studied again accounting and international business. I got my degree honors and worked. I left UTech, started working in corporate, where I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers as an external auditor, and soon after transitioned into the banking industry, where I worked with Daring, Bunting and Golding, a financial institution, as a financial analyst. And then my interest in finance grew. So I kind of dollied over from accounts into finance, and then pursued my MBA in finance, which I graduated with honors in 2009.
Nice.
And at that point, changed jobs, was now working for Red Stripe, which became Diageo. And shortly after, being in the beverage industry, understanding nuances, ins and outs, I liked it. I transitioned to Lascelles Wines and Spirits at the time, where I was brand manager for Magnum Tonic Wine and Charlie's JB Rum.
Oh, so it's you.
It's me.
It's you.
Yeah, it's me. So I mean, I had a lot of corporate experience. After that working, and I'm talking at some of the highest levels, working with some real broad international companies. I worked with Procter & Gamble through the local distributor, which was Consumer Brands, and have since moved on to pursue my own business in farming and agriculture, and also consultation, business consultation, back to the roots. Through this time, I also became more aware of my background, right, my heritage, and realized that there was something missing. So I started reconnecting with my community, trying to get back into who we are and what we do, and trying to find myself as well as how I could contribute to uplifting my community. And
so
that's
always
when
good to always remember where you're coming from.
of course, of course, of course,
keep that top of mind.
Of
and
course.
help those who you can help along.
Of course.
I'm very happy that you've returned.
Of course, and what caused me to return was in 2015 when they amended the Dangerous Drugs Act to facilitate studies in medicine, ganja, yeah, and they afforded sacramental use for the Rasta, and I was a big part of the ganja movement at the time, and it was right there. It hit me again, right in front of me, that here we are in Jamaica, we've made provisions for medicinal and provisions for sacramental, but nothing speaking to the Maroons. And I felt offended. So I'm saying, but we're the real Bushmen, so how there's nothing speaking to Maroons and their part to play in the ganja industry? I raised the question, and everyone who I was rubbing shoulders with at the time could only say to me, that was a question they could not answer.
I want it bigger than you.
It's outside of their pay grade.
Yeah.
So I wrote letters to the Ministry of Agriculture, to the Prime Minister, to the Minister of Justice. No response. Again, Maroon is systematically being brushed to the side. So I stepped forward. I asked my colonels for representation at that level, and I agitated till they developed what they call the Alternative Development Program. This program was to facilitate marginalized communities and small farmers to move from the illicit to the legal trade. They had 2 pilot projects stemming from this, months and months of consultations and meetings. And every person had to make a representation for their community or their group where they would run the 2 pilot projects. Having put forward my presentation on the Maroons, the 2 communities selected to do the pilot was Accompong and Orange Hill in Westmoreland. So to me, that was a small win, a small victory. And that meant now Maroons had an opening until the leadership could resolve what needed to be resolved and assert the Maroon position. At least now there was an avenue that Maroon could be a player.
So you've always been pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and you will continue to push.
I will continue to push.
I see that you're very passionate about this, about the Maroons' history, culture, and that Maroons are acknowledged, and that's good to have somebody. One, you're young, fairly young, so it's not like we're starting out from the other end. We're starting from the young end, so you have time to even grow into it. And
I must say,
and I am convinced that you will do well.
I appreciate that, Rochelle.
I am thoroughly convinced that you will do well, and I believe the Maroons will have strong leadership. From all that we've heard, all that you've said, all that you have put forward in your prospectus, it sounds very convincing, and it's good. It's substance, has a lot of substance. I will try to insert some of it or leave a link to it somewhere so you guys can check it out. What's your advice to Maroons that have left the Maroon community?
Don't give up on your community. Our leaders have failed us, but it doesn't mean we have failed as a people. There's still hope, and once there's life, there's always hope. One thing can never be erased from history is the fact that the Maroons stood up, fought, and conquered the British to earn their freedom. That is fact and will not change. What we stand for will not change. It is now to assert who we are. So come back to the table. We have a long ways to go, but it will be fun. I guarantee you.
Hey. Hey. It sounds fun. It sounds like it will be fun. And I look forward to it. Do we have a date for election as yet?
We don't. At the moment, a lot of things going on. And there's resistance, I cannot say. But, you know, we have reached that point where things must boil. Things must boil before, you know, we get back to where we need to be. So for now, we're hoping for an election before the end of year. There's no telling if that's going to be the case, because really what's holding the process up now is for the incumbent to move the process forward. Gotcha. So we're hopeful.
You're hopeful.
Yes.
Awesome. Can non-Maroons vote in the election?
No. If you're not a Maroon, you can't partake in the elections. And one will ask, how do you know if you're a Maroon?
Yeah, how do you know?
So we have several elders of the community, and while it might not be the perfect method, we have to be able to trace your bloodline, your heritage. Who's your great-grandfather? Who's your great-grandmother? You know, who are other relatives?
So if I'm married to a Maroon,
you can also qualify by marriage. You can also qualify by residency. Right? We have to be there, I think, for 7 years and over.
7 years?
7 years and over to vote.
Wow. And just to clarify, because the election is for the sovereign state of Accompong, which encompasses many different small towns.
Correct.
Around
Correct.
Accompong.
Many communities around. So Aberdeen, Windsor, Garlands, Eldersley, Mulgrave, Cedar Spring, Whitehall, Bethsalem, just to name a few.
For those who want to know more about you and your agenda, where do they find you?
So you can go on my Instagram page, Richard C for Colonel. That's Instagram. Or I'm either in Accompong or and Kingston. I'm between Accompong and Kingston.
So we just go Accompong and say, listen, I look for
Richie,
and you'll find me.
You will find me. You'll find me.
And the Instagram is Richard C for Colonel.
Correct.
And Colonel is spelled Colonel.
Colonel.
Colonel. It will be in the description bar below, so definitely check him out. Send your Maroon friends to go and vote. If you're a Maroon yourself, please go and vote. And just show him the love and the support. It's always good to see, you know, a strong black man standing up for what he believes in. You know, it's always very encouraging, and we need more leaders, and I'm very happy that you've really put yourself up to this, you know. So thank you, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing with us today, for enlightening us about the Maroon culture, the history, and what your plans are. It's very encouraging, and I'm so grateful, and thank you.
Thank you so much just for taking the time out and, you know, giving me the opportunity and the platform to, you know, put forward the information, because that's what's missing, the information and the context. Yeah. So just know that you're welcome at any point in time to Accompong. Feel free to bring your friends, and hopefully the experience continues to get better and improve as we move forward with our agendas.
Thank you. One last question. The January 6th celebrations, is it happening in Corona time?
So if it's going to happen, it will be a very subdued version, meaning we only invite our Maroon communities. It won't be.
Stream it?
We will stream it. We will stream it.
So I'd love to be a part of it.
100%. I won't let you. I won't leave you out.
One other last question: is there Corona in Accompong?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
That's encouraging.
Fantastic.
I'm going to come live in Accompong.
So we check everyone before they come in, yeah? We make sure you're good.
That's where I come in. You know what? 7 years or so, I come in.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
Well, thanks again, and do enjoy the rest of your day. And
thank you, ma'am.
See you back.
Do the elbow thing. I'm clean.
So am I.
Thank you.
So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video interesting. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. you know, leave a comment for Richie. Let him see that you guys are really supporting him. And thank you guys so much for being a part of the Rushling journey. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one.